Putin claims he's preparing a truce for May 9th, waiting for Ukraine and the U.S. reactions, while publicly calling DPRK representatives allies in Russia's defense ministry. But we're not fooled. We continue striking military targets, bringing the war back to where it began. And we are back with you this Monday, April 28th. With you is Irina Uzova, and on the air is Roman Svitan, military expert, flight instructor, colonel in the reserve of the AFU. Roman, congratulations, good to see you, glory to Ukraine. But I am never happy to see Putin, but today he appeared in the form of a paper and speech before the so-called Council of Legislators. He declared that from 0 at night from May 7 to 8 and until 0 from May 10 to 11 he declares a truce. So generously, unexpectedly, until May 9th, of course. There are already reactions. Andriy Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation under the National Security and Defense Council, says, why not a full ceasefire? This is manipulation and an attempt to conceal the intention to continue the war. Andrei Sabiga, representing the Foreign Ministry, says Russia must agree to an immediate, comprehensive ceasefire for peace. The White House also reacted, noting the Vatican's influence, and Caroline Leavitt mentioned Trump's call for a full ceasefire, not partial gestures. Mr. Roman, what's behind this new goodwill gesture from Putin? How does he plan to use it? We remember the Easter ceasefire, when they just repositioned their troops. Well, it's all clear about May 9th. He took the wrong pill. It was supposed to be for diarrhea, but he seems to have taken it for diarrhea. This is the main problem. He understands perfectly well. Moscow is only 500 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. Red Square is roughly within that radius, and we already have means of delivery and combat radii so that we can bury not only Volodya. After all, it's time to bury Lenin, too. How long can he lie in the fresh air? And the second Vladimir can be buried there, too. We have the means. So he obviously has diarrhea. They have the wrong suitcases now. Technologies are under sanctions, they can't produce themselves, and they need a lot, especially now. So he got nervous. He decided to somehow secure his body near Lenin's mausoleum from possible airstrikes. That's why he spoke again about the so-called ceasefire, to make himself known.
Свое тело рядом с мавзолеем Ленина, обезопасить от ударов с воздуха. То есть он однозначно принял решение еще раз обозначиться с этим перемирием, так называемым.
Plus another problem. Xi Jinping and others will definitely not go unless they are sure that nothing will fly into Red Square, 500 kilometers away from the front line. Imagine Xi Jinping standing next to Vladimir on this mausoleum, or whatever you want to call it. And then, good evening, we're from Ukraine, or good morning. How can you treat such a thing? Without a 100% guarantee that Ukraine will not strike Red Square, Xi Jinping will not go there. And not only him. Neither Orban, nor Fico, nor the North Korean donut and others. They're just afraid. That is why they need a firm guarantee that there will be no strikes on Red Square. And what is interesting is that now they can no longer get away with saying that Red Square is not a military facility.
Потому надо стопроцентная гарантия о том, что мы работать не будем именно по Красной площади. Причем самое интересное, они сейчас уже не отвертятся от того, что Красная площадь не военный объект.
Remember what Peskov or Lavrov said after the strike on Sumy? When we lost our children and adults, they said that the strike was on a facility that was being used by the military for their own purposes. And so it is here. Red Square is holy, a parade. The military uses it for their own purposes, so it must fly there. If it doesn't, there will be serious questions to the Bankova. What was that? How is it so? No one ensured the safety of our people, the same Krivoy Rogers, but the safety of all sorts of Xi Jinping, Volodymyr, and others was ensured? Let's see how Bankova will react. So far, only statements. One came out, the second, the third. All these are just statements for the sake of statements. The real statement will be if on May 9th at least 100 of our wreckages fly across Red Square, which the Russian and North Korean militaries use for military purposes. Let the debris fly. And then let them say that it is just debris, and at the same time to bury Volodya.
Основное заявление будет, если на 9 мая на военный объект Красную площадь, которую военные российские и северокорейские будут использовать в военных целях. Туда прилетит, допустим, там сотня наших обломков. Хай обломки летят, в конце концов. Будут потом рассказывать, что обломки Володю похоронили.
Well, yes, I also think, why should we even agree to such a thing? Judging by our answers, we don't like such a truce. And on the front, besides really flying drones, debris, and all sorts of goodwill envoys to Red Square and these tips for the poor, I think Putin also wants to take advantage of it somehow.
Посланники доброї волі на Червону площу, на ці паради Побєдопєсті, я ж думаю, що ще на фронті Путін якось хоче цим скористатися.
Yeah, on the front, definitely. He tried it, he liked it. Look, on the 20th of the 20th, there was a 1.5-day stop at some positions, not all of them, but those where Putin needed to rotate, pull up forces, means, ammunition, and clear the passages. After that, they went on the attack from Monday, Alga, and forward. It's a horde, after all. With shouts and Alga, they went almost all along the front line, from Kursk to Kherson direction. In some positions, by the way, we left our positions, especially in the area of Vasilyevka and Orekova, where they seriously advanced thanks to this truce. In the area of Liman, the so-called Kupinsko-Limanskaya axis, there is also strong pressure after the reformatting near Chasovyar and Torez. Of course, Pokrovsk, the Kurakovskoy direction, and almost the entire Zaporizhia front are also under pressure. We have already talked about Vasilyevka and about Polohi, Guliai-Polye, and the Velika Novosyolka area. Putin and Putin's troops used this truce, the so-called Easter truce, to rotate and carry out further tasks. A day and a half was not enough, and a few days is a chance to pull up the rear, which can lead to serious losses in some areas. Often we hold them back, keep them away from the line of contact with long-range weapons. But when their hands are tied, that's it. Hello. Then we will not say, good evening, we are from Ukraine, but Russians will say, good morning, we are from Vladikavkaz. That is why in no case we should not fall for such throws of fate as the Russian ones. It is already clear. First, it is a provocation, because Putin is trying to show himself as a great peacemaker.
Ни в коем случае нельзя вестись на такого рода забросы судьбы, так называемые российские. То есть это уже понятно. И, во-первых, это провокация. Еще с одной стороны, потому что пытается Путин как-то показать, что он великий миротворец.
Yes, all I was saying was that instead of announcing reconciliation and issuing more ultimatums, they should consider a place in a mental hospital, or maybe a gas chamber, or a combination of both. Roman, and with these new ultimatums, the horse face of Sergei Lavrov, who is called Russia's foreign minister, has reappeared. It's all in the arena as well, so to speak. He just said in an interview with O Globo and before that on CBS News that they are supposedly ready even to make concessions, but the issue of territory is off the table. Crimea de jure, recognize it. I remembered again their favorite incomprehensible words about demilitarization, denazification. NATO, of course, is also absent. Denatoization is also present. We can see that against the background of manipulations about the ceasefire, direct ultimatum threats are made. This shows once again that, if I am not mistaken, Putin does not need any truce in the near future or in the future. The point is that he needs the truce itself as an operational pause. From a military point of view, he needs time, and he has been in this pause for almost a month and a half. Interestingly, we will give him just that, an energy pause. No one has hit the refinery yet, even though it's been a month already. So what's stopping our generals from continuing to apply the Malik-Budanov sanctions? Months have passed, and now what? Your head should stop hurting by now. It's time to fulfill your duty, not a conjugal duty, but to the people of Ukraine who are paying you for it. We have to keep burning refineries, at least Russian hydrocarbons. Nothing is holding anything back. And Lavrov comes out with these demands, not suggestions.
Должны сейчас подальше продолжать жечь нефтеперерабатывающие заводы. Ну, по крайней мере, российскую углеводородку ничего ж не удерживает. Так вот, Лавров выходит с этими, ну, это не предложение, это требование.
The demands mainly derive from the Russian constitution, where they have crammed our 5 regions in. These are their demands, as Lavrov voiced them, and there simply cannot be any others. By definition, otherwise, they will violate their own criminal code, which has articles on state treason. So Lavrov has not thrown out anything new. There is nothing new for us to fulfill. This is what they've been coming out with for the last few years. And the question for Trump is, let him deal with it. Let Putin hang noodles on their ears through Vitkov, and someone will take it off. Let them at least eat so that the product does not go to waste. They have the problem, and we need to continue fighting to deoccupy our territory.
Пусть кто-то там ее снимает, хоть поварит, поедят, по крайней мере, чтобы продукт не пропадал. То есть проблема у них это у них. Нам свои робить. Нам вот в этом очень важно. Нам свои робить. Нам надо продолжать боевые действия по деоккупации нашей территории.
We have the same picture with the Constitution and the obligations of civil servants, especially generals and military personnel, to restore sovereignty and territorial integrity. All these initiatives about ceasefires and halts are Putin's tricks to create the operational pause we talked about at the beginning. He needs the pause, which he already has, to prepare for further movement under his constitution. It requires Putin to restore territorial integrity, and to do that, they will seize our 5 provinces. Operational pauses are needed to prepare for further attack, which could begin in the 10th or 11th month or summer, depending on the objectives and needs.